States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, has council had the opportunity to review the meeting minutes of December 5th? If so, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Any changes to this evening's agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the set agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented? Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. Those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Guests and open forum. Anyone here for guests and open forum? Seeing none, we'll move into committee reports. Personnel Committee. We met last week and it was we spent a majority of our time on the ESSL, which is also on our consent agenda this evening. That is the employee safe and sober time. Employee safe. That's it. Done.
Sober time.
Anyway, it's on the consent agenda this evening. And then we went through our hiring updates, and our main update was in regards to the city clerk with Julie's retirement coming up. So we talked about that a little bit. So, how about EDA?
EDA met on December 11th. As usual, we got a monthly market update. There were 16 homes on the market in the 55308 zip code, 11 being built prior to 2023. We talked about First Children's Finance. There is an onboarding meeting on January 4th that is 6 hours long and sounds really fun. And then there's a planning meeting to follow, and then there are 18 to 24 months of meetings in the works. And that was about it.
Public Works.
Going to that meeting.
Yes, I was thinking about 18 to 24 months of 6-hour work. Public Works, we also met last week. Let's see, we talked about the Public Works feasibility study that is forthcoming to council. That study is of our campus, of the Public Works campus. We had kind of talked about that. We talked about like how the budget would implement different stages and more to come. I mean, it was just very high level to us. We also reviewed the snow plowing and ice control policy. There was a couple just slight updates. I believe they just enhanced it a little bit more by adding street names that get the first plow, the second plow, the emergency route, and so on. So that went into effect, or as it was updated. And then on this evening's agenda, we have the wastewater treatment facility domestic head screen and compactor replacement. We went through those bids and then sent our recommendation over to council this evening. And then we spent a little bit of time discussing the water comp plan and how that will be also coming about soon, and it'll be presented at an exec session. We did talk a little bit about the pilot test well for wells 7 and 8, and then also the leachate trial that Excel has of their ash piles. So several different topics. A lot of it will be forthcoming here at an exec session because a lot of it is a little bit more detailed and laid out. So more to come. How about Joint Powers Fire Board?
Fire Board, we met last night. Everything's doing great over there. We had 24 calls last month. We discussed we've been fine tuning just our red path procedure for that to get done for the new year. And they ended up hiring 4 new hires out of the 5 that they were looking for. So that's awesome.
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission, we met last night. The main topic was we had the public hearing for the Hubbard Minor Subdivision 9 Alpha on our agenda tonight, so we won't go into that. Then we postponed the commission. We have 2 open spots on the Planning Commission, and we had 3 people apply, so we were gonna do interviews last night, but we didn't have a quorum, so we postponed that until, we're probably gonna have to do like a special meeting in January. So that way we can have them seated by the, regular planning commission meeting in January. Cause we're going through the review of the code and that, so we don't wanna miss a month of that, so.
Definitely. How about any other meetings that we missed?
Cancel.
All right. Okay, public hearings. 2024 city fee schedule, Miss Bleasy. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 5:05 PM.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm requesting council consider changes to the city's fee schedule. Recommended changes include, under the administrative citations, the renaming of the odd-even water violation to lawn irrigation ordinance violation, and adding verbiage for subsequent violations beyond 3 years, and verbiage to reset violation counts at the start of each season. Under property-related fees, we're requesting adding a conditional use permit PUD to clarify the fee and escrow in the amount of $350 and $3,000 for the escrow. Changing the moving permit escrow from $3,000 to varies with project to ensure escrow counts reflect each moving permit specifically. Adding outdoor entertainment special event permits in the amount of $25 as a result of recent changes to the zoning code. Adjusting the permanent sign permit fee from $30 to $50 to align with staff costs and time. Adjusting plumbing fees and mechanical fees for residential from a per opening fee of $5 to a set fee of $100 for new construction and $50 for remodels and additions. Adjusting the over-counter maintenance permits to keep up with costs from $50 to $65. Increasing the inspection fee outside normal business hours from $50 to $65 to keep up with the loaded wages of the building official. Adding septic construction and operating permits as referenced in code in the amount of $250 each. And then finally, under utility-related fees, the rates have been increased to reflect the 2024 approved budget. So with that, I can take any questions, or we can open it up to the public.
Any questions from council? Is anyone here to address any questions in regards to the schedule of fees?
I move we close the public hearing.
Second?
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
We are closed at 5:07 PM. And how would you like to proceed on the fees?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 278, second series, revising section 219 of chapter 2, city code, providing for fees related to various things.
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. Any discussion? With none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I need a series.
Oh, we do the summary, don't we?
Yes.
So, then I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 278, second series summary for publication purposes.
I'll second that.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Vacation of part of former township road, Mr. Sanders.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Did you open the public hearing here?
I will do that right now. We will go ahead and open the public hearing at 5:09.
Thank you. So tonight we have a public hearing for vacation of part of a former township road. So a few months back, the plat for G&K First Edition, which is that corner on Edgewood and Highway 10, was approved. As part of the county's review of the plat, they had noticed that on MnDOT's maps, there's a road that's still currently there, although it's overgrown and long since been abandoned. It was thought to be vacated, the documents couldn't be found. So at the December 5th meeting, council had voted on a resolution to set the public hearing date for tonight, which we're holding. If council approves the vacation, it'll vacate the part of that road on Mr. Hammer's property that used to go to Highway 10 that's within the city boundaries. So it really, again, it's just to clean up something that was already thought to be abandoned, so it serves no public benefit anymore. So with that, seeking motion and a second, adopting that resolution, and I'll stand for any questions.
Does council have any questions? None? Anyone here from the public for questions in regards to vacating the road? Seeing no one, I'll ask council to close.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion from Robin, second from Mike. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to adopt a
Oh, hold on.
resolution.
We're closed at 5:10. Okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 23-130, vacating a part of a former township road.
I'll second that.
Motion from Robin, second from Mike. Those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, board, committee, and consultant reports. Minor subdivision for Hubbard property, Mr. Sanders.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. We have a minor subdivision that's been applied for by the Hubbards for a 20-acre parcel that's over adjacent to west of Fossum Fields. So it's that 20-acre piece, also south of Elk Wind, to divide it into 3 separate lots. This qualifies for a minor subdivision. We don't get a ton of these in the city, but in this case, it does qualify for that since it's not over 3 lots. There's no new right-of-ways at this, or roads that are being done, no new infrastructure at this point. So anything that's not containing more than 3 lots and doing those can do that. In this case, it will help them further market and sell the lots to somebody else for development. A couple of keynotes on this one, just briefly. So as in this case, there's no plat documents because it's not a plat, it's just a survey. So there are a number of conditions on it. Many are standard. Some relate to some easements that need to be dedicated that we would typically see on a plat, but that need to be dedicated now as part of the subdivision. The Planning Commission did recommend to waive some of the design requirements, which again is also allowed by code since it's not a full plat. Some of the specifications and design requirements don't apply to these. So only one minor subdivision is allowed for these. So in the future, all the other lots, you can't minor subdivide them. They have to be platted when they're divided. And that condition is in the resolution under code. And then the other thing is that Planning Commission did have the public hearing. There was no public comment. The property owner was there as well, who had an opportunity to review the resolution and didn't have any comment either to the Planning Commission one. So with that, we are seeking a motion and a second adopting resolution 23-132, approving the minor subdivision for the Hubbard property. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
I'll make a motion adopting resolution 23-132, a resolution recommending approval of a minor subdivision for the Hubbard property.
A second.
Motion from Becky, second from Rick.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing first.
Should we do another one?
That wasn't part of it.
We didn't have an open public hearing for this one.
Oh, okay.
I
We had so many of them, it's hard to keep track.
was like, we had 2, I closed 2.
Yeah, you didn't for this one. no
Yeah, I
public
was like,
hearing.
okay.
That's right, they had it, it was last night.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion by Becky, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
All right.
Opposed, carried.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
All right, Domestic Headworks Screen Replacement Project Bid Award, Mr. Lisson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. By far the most exciting thing on the agenda tonight. Just kidding. So I have a RCA and for you guys tonight for the Domestic Headworks Screen and Compactor Replacement Project. So we worked with HR Green to make plans and specifications for the project. We took those plans and specifications after approved by council, went out for bid on October 23rd of this year. November 15th, we did have a meeting at the wastewater facility, so if any potential builder wanted to come and look at the project, they could do that, ask any questions. We did receive 4 bids for this project. I listed those in the RCA, so you can see those there. After discussing with our engineer, we do feel like the low bidder is qualified to do this project. This has been discussed with our Public Works Committee, and they continue to support the project. The bids do fall within the money that we have allotted in the CIP for the project, so that was exciting to see that. So I can answer any questions you may have related to this. Otherwise, tonight I'm asking for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 23-131, resolution awarding the contract for the domestic headworks screen and compactor replacement project to Northern Horizon Solway Incorporated would be appreciated.
Do we know why with the engineer's estimate being over 800 and then the bids coming back, was the engineer's estimate done at a time when the material was really high, or how is there a substantial difference like that?
Yeah, I mean, when we talked about this was probably about a year ago, and I do have Mark Stone from HR Green here too, so he can help answer if I don't do it well. But, I mean, at that time, we were still kind of at the end of the COVID and kind of the higher pricing. When me and Mark talked about this, his concern would have been if we would have had one really low and several that were much further away from that, since they were all kind of consistently in the same area. He felt more comfortable about that. Part of me thinks that because this is probably a more simple project in the grand scheme of things, the contractors didn't have as many moving parts to worry about, so maybe their bidding was a little tighter. Was that kind of what you were thinking, Mark?
Conservative on our installation cost based on other bids that we've been seeing the past year that were coming in higher. So we were trying to be extra conservative just to make sure that we didn't
Yep.
sell that. And Magny was a reputable contractor that we know.
We got a mic there?
Oh,
Magny was also a reputable contractor that came in fairly close to Northern Horizon as well, so we felt pretty comfortable with their pricing.
Yeah, and when we did look at the engineering piece of this initially, the estimate that we had from another firm was actually a little bit higher than what HR Green had estimated for the project. So both of those firms were in the same ballpark. So I guess it's kind of nice to see that we're on this end of it, not on the other side of it, so. Yep.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 23-131, awarding the contract for the domestic headworks screen and compactor replacement to Northern Horizon Solway Incorporated.
I'll second.
motion from Rick, second from Mike. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Xcel Energy's long-duration energy storage system presentation. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna quickly, I have it up, but I'll put it on screen here.
Okay.
Show it's on.
The wizard. Talking to himself back there.
I think Tony's making sure it's up.
We should have the Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do.
Is it not popping up?
No.
Need to put it on. Oh, the extend.
Look at Tony's new look.
I know.
It's good.
He looks naked. Baby face.
Just duplicate it.
I don't think it'll do it. So,
Let's do this. Well, it's not.
it's not plugged into that.
Yeah, that's supposed to be plugged into here. That wasn't working.
Oh, see?
It would have, though, that would have been.
We got it. Thank you. All right. Thanks for patience on that. So tonight what we have is Tyler Beamer from Burns McDonald here, as well as Pete from Xcel Energy. And Tyler's gonna give a presentation, but I'll give a brief kind of thing on this. Excel did receive some approval from the state to do a pilot for this long-range energy storage system. So I'll let Tyler touch base on it, but the city is the local governing unit at the request of Excel to review the project. There is a route that can be done with that at the state level, so the city is working on reviewing the environmental assessment for the project. So I'll let Tyler give you a presentation on that and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for having me. I'm Tyler with Burns & McDonnell. We also have Pete here with Excel, so if there's any questions for either one of us. Presentation is pretty generous considering there's only 4 slides, including this cover slide, so we'll keep it fairly high level. Specifically to the project as it relates to the city of Becker. As Jacob noted, Excel received permission from the state to build effectively a battery energy storage system, also known as BESS. This one's referred to as the Long Duration Energy Storage Project, and I believe the reason for that is because it's a different technology using iron air battery system, which is kind of brand new in the world of BESS. Traditionally, you'll see lithium. This is a demonstration scale developed by Form Energy. I think the only second one to be built in the US. First one's in Colorado, I believe. First one's in Jerry. Yeah. So new tech in terms of this, the location is going to be at the existing Sherco facility limits, which I have a map up here in a second. And really the intent of the project is support the Sherco solar project currently in development. The intention is construction would begin in Q2 of next year with operational by end of 2025. So here you can see cursor moving, maybe, yes. So here we've got the Sherco facility. Just to the east here, we've got kind of an open field. And then if you zoom in to the right here, we've got our basically panels or arrays is probably not the right word, but basically the batteries would be in the orange sections. You have a temporary construction staging area there on the left with the white hatching, and then the actual facility limits would be within the black hatching, and then there'd be a perimeter fence in the red. As it relates to the city of Becker, the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission has recently categorized this project as under energy storage system, and therefore it would require a site permit through the PUC. There is an alternative option to suffice that requirement where the local unit of government, in this case, City of Becker, would agree to basically permit it themselves. They'd identify the appropriate permit. In this case, it's an industrial building permit application, and then they also be responsible for submitting an environmental assessment of the project to the Minnesota Environmental Quality Board for a 10-day public comment period, after which, if they issued their own permit and there were no substantial comments from the public, the compliance with the PUC would be considered done and final in lieu of having to get a site permit. So that's why I'm here today. That's why Jacob has been helping us. And I believe we have submitted all required documentation to date to suffice for what the city needs. We also do anticipate likely needing a road right-of-way permit for an overhead transmission that'll connect us to a substation, but that'll be part of a downstream permitting process separate from this PUC site review, alternate review process. So any questions for myself or Pete on the Excel tech side?
This is 10 megawatt?
Yes, it's up to 10 megawatt capacity. Let me go back to
The, how, is that used as, say something happens with the solar and then this provides power when there's a problem, or is it continually supply power?
Sure. Pete, feel free to muzzle me here if this is incorrect. But, the intention of any BESS project is to add reliability within a renewable system with the grid. Renewables only run when they run, and so it's hard to scale. It's really impossible to scale that, right? So the option to add batteries to that system allows power that isn't being directed directly to the grid to use, to be stored temporarily, and then for peak times when solar or wind is not operating, then you're able to suckle from the battery system to get it back into the grid.
It'll automatically,
Yeah.
okay.
So you'll see a lot of renewable projects come aboard with BESS systems in the future. It's kind of the next wave of ancillary renewables development. But again, specific to this system, this is kind of a new tech in the world of battery energy storage systems.
Is this gonna be limited to where it functions? 10 megawatts doesn't seem like much compared to what they produce right now.
No, again, it is demonstration scale. Since this is relatively new, I think the intention is to scale it up over time. And so it's relatively small for the purposes of this project. It is a joint venture with Form Energy. I don't know if you have anything else to mention to that.
It's a pilot project, right? It's not a proven technology at the scale, right? So 10 megawatts, we picked 10 because it's either too large nor, it's not too small, right? I think Jerry has a project, Jerry has a project that's 1 megawatt. I think that it'll be coming online, I think at 24. So our project would be 10 megawatt. So we thought it was the right scale for cost and being a pilot project.
So from the, from the city's standpoint, I mean, we think of cleanup, and we think of, maybe current risk, I think we all think of maybe the existing battery technology, not really familiar with this here, so, understanding it is a different type of battery, but thinking about it in the sense of a battery, I guess, what are the protections that are in place if, there should be some type, because these are gonna be open air, my understanding, they're not gonna be inside of a building or anything, it's, pretty much open air. So what are the protections that are gonna be in place should something, leak? And then, whether this, proves, fruitful or not, even if it proves fruitful, I would imagine, this technology tends to turn over pretty quick, so you would do something either bigger scale. This is probably gonna get removed at some point. How are we protected there? So, it's, that's done safely or effectively.
So there's a couple of questions that I'm hearing is, one is what happens if a battery leaks, right? So the batteries are, if you went back to that, the battery layout, so each row has multiple containers in it. Each container is about 8 by 40 foot long. So, and then the batteries are located in each container. It's waterproof, right? It's not exposed to the environment. The containers themselves do, if I remember right, have 10% capacity for spills. As far as future recycling, or what do we do with this equipment when lifetime has depreciated to 80-70%? We have looked with Form at the recycling options when that lifetime is over. There's potential for recycling the iron, plastic, so there's potential there. So the materials being used in the batteries are not hazardous, besides the aqueous solution, which is basic solution. But otherwise, it's iron and water and air.
The solution is hazardous?
The solution is basic.
So basically, there'll just be a fence around this then, right?
Yep, there'll be a perimeter fence with a security system on it.
And this will be within the larger Sherco facility, which is also secured, right? So it's a fence within a fence.
Yeah, it looks like it's right behind the power plant.
Yeah. And there's, part of this design is also, from a civil standpoint, designing stormwater controls. So there will be a sediment detention basin in which the site will slope to, and it'll be, independent of the larger Sherco facility. So to Pete's point, there isn't, if you think of a battery, there isn't like battery acid or anything within these. It's truly solid state type of iron, so the potential for a leak is greatly minimized.
Yeah, I guess another thing with the batteries, so each container is comprised of multiple batteries, and each battery section is containerized even more. So you'd have cells that are about 3 inches wide, right? So if there's a leak, it's very contained. There's not much of a leak, right? It's not going to be like we're leaking, I don't know, 1 cubic yard at a time. It's no such thing, right? And it's the other question people ask: does this type of battery have a thermal runaway? So it does not have that. Its inherent design does not have thermal runaway.
I have one more question then, and maybe it's just a clarification. Technology has a tendency to make stuff obsolete and whatever. There's probably a life cycle on this.
Do you know offhand what the expected life is?
But what I'm getting at is, at the end of this life, or whatever usable life, whatever you want to call it, will it be removed?
Yes, so so we do, like, you're concerned about what do we do with this thing when it's done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are discussing those options. What we do, how do we recycle this equipment?
Okay.
And what's the lifespan of this likely?
So this is the lifespan is 10 years.
Okay.
10 years once it's in production, so production 10 years?
Yep.
Unless technology gets ahead of it.
And I would assume an option is after the 10-year cycle to replace with new batteries in kind, and that hasn't been determined yet, but it would be a potential, right?
Yeah, so the option is to replace the containers would stay in place. So what you see on that map is it would stay in place, but you would come in and remove the old batteries and put new ones in.
So if this technology is successful, are we likely to see more of these projects in our area?
I think we'll likely see a lot of these, maybe not exactly this design, but, you know, we're living in a transition state, right? Time of right? It's like there's multiple technologies coming on. You probably see news on different types of technology coming online right now, right? And this is one of them. So whether it's this one or the other one, we're not sure, but this is the best we have right now that we can use to diversify our reliability with the renewables coming online.
Yeah, I think with utility scale renewables projects, you're going to see a lot that are either already designed to have an incorporated BESS type system with it, or be BESS ready, where they have an allocated spot to then put that in the future to address reliability concerns over time. And we provided Jacob, a full NEPA style EA environmental assessment that, it's pretty thorough. And I'll let him speak on that, since technically, that's the city's to review, but it addresses a lot of probably further questions. So if you had, I'd refer you to that.
Is this designed to, you said this is from the solar panels, in a sense, are gonna be feeding this? This isn't gonna be more pulling power off the grid? Is the main thing of this to test that the solar can feed it, or is it to test just the technology itself, meaning be pulling off the grid, or, pulling from a?
Yeah, it's a pilot, right? So we want to learn how the battery will function at this scale, right? That's one thing. We are tying into the Sherco Solar East. I guess if you...
It's kind of hard, yeah, at the scale, it's like another map.
We are tying in as a generation surplus to the Sherco Solar East project.
Okay.
I don't think the intention of any BESS system would be to pull from the grid. It would only be to store energy that you would develop from a source to then plug out to the grid. Other questions? Jacob, thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. So the city's role in this really is this an allowed project? It's an allowed project by zoning. It's allowed in the zoning districts. It's allowed in addition to Sherco. It's doing what they do for power gen. So the role of the city in this is really just to review the environmental assessment that's being produced and make sure that fits with what we need. So staff has a draft copy of that we've reviewed. Randy's also been provided that, the city engineer. We'll provide a copy to you as well, so you'll get the full version to be able to have time to review that as well for any comments. And then we'll bring that back at a separate meeting for approval of the environmental assessment. So the goal would be January to bring that back, unless there's any major changes. But there has been staff review of the document just to make sure that things are where they need to be. But we want to make sure that you have your questions answered on this project as well. Any other questions or concerns from council's part on this one? And then following, so if the environmental assessment, when that completes and is approved, the next step would be, to Tyler's point, they do have to have a permitting mechanism, and in this case, the only one the city has is the industrial building permit. Even though there's no building required, that's the avenue that they'll use. Again, civil plans have been required, so they submitted those. There's remediation, the engineers reviewed that as well to make sure, and Public Works to make sure it doesn't interfere with infrastructure and that things are tied in as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. Consent agenda, Mr. LaRude.
Mayor Bertram, city council members, items for approval on tonight's consent agenda include the hiring and termination report for administration and revised Becker Community Center. Adoption 23-129, approving modifications to the personnel policy to add earned safe and sick leave benefit. Approve the 2024 tobacco license renewals. Approve the 2024 cannabinoid license renewals. Approve new cannabinoid license for G. Will Liquors. Adopt resolution 23-128, amending the 2023 general fund budget. Adopt resolution 23-129, accepting the Just Transition Fund Get Ready Challenge Grant and approve the grant application, grant agreement. Accept the 2021 street improvement project recap. Accept the 2023 street improvement project recap. Approve the final pay request, number 5, to Dunick Incorporated in the amount of $218,120.45 for the 2021 Bituminous Street project. Approve pay request number 6 to R.L. Larson in the amount of $403,390.81 for the 2023 Business Park Pump Station Improvement Project. Approve invoice number 4184 from Sherburne County in the amount of $605,298.65 for the city's share of the 97th Street reconstruction project. To this point, there will be additional invoices for this project, but this represents the bulk of the city cost. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Payment of the bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion from Robin, second from Rick. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. I'd like to wish the community and council and staff a very joyful holiday season. And does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 5:38 p.m.
See you next year.